All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started. Give me a second to make sure my brain is on the same page as everybody else. So as long as that's the case, we're good to go. I hope everybody's doing well tonight on a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. We'll see how we are able to multitask in its finest form. So, all right. And whether we like it or not, I'm in the picture. Hope everybody's doing well. Glad to have it with us. We got about 18 people here. That's good. If you can hear me, I always enjoy people giving me a thumbs up on YouTube and saying, hey, I can hear you just fine. But if you can't, I can always turn up the volume. But if everything's good, glad that people joining. Jordan, Raheem, Doran, Tez, Josh, and Mr. Joey. Recommended entertainment and productions, always nice. Philip, glad to have you here. Philip, this is going to have you have an opportunity to tell you where the payment portal is, and I apologize for the delay. I was just trying to do a lot of things today to get things started. So, hope everybody can hear me. We got roughly about 18 people watching now. We're going to go ahead and start. Two things tonight. Probably, a little bit louder. I like that. It feels like it's a song. A little bit louder now. A little bit louder now. Let me check it out. See how we can sound. Once again, always give me a feedback as much as you can. Loud and proud. Appreciate that, Raheem. And Bobby, glad to have you join us. Probably the biggest thing about this meeting today is the word communication. I really want to talk about that in detail, mainly for the sole fact that I feel like this past week. Hey, Devin, nice to see you here as well. Sean, Michael, glad to have you with you. Brandy as well. Sound is good. Glad to hear that as well. But probably the biggest thing we want to talk about is communication. That's the one thing that I felt like was lacking on my end this past Friday. So we want to make sure that we do our best to eliminate that. That's probably the biggest thing that I want to do is take that away and make sure I can improve on that communication piece. I love that the green screen still has my eyes in it, so that's a plus all by itself. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about communication, and that's where it comes in the employee portal. There's definitely different things that we want to make sure that we do, and then we'll talk a little bit about filming if possible tonight, but really the main focus of this meeting was to reiterate. I am going to show you a lot of things from the filming perspective, but I want to bring in, instead of I want to bring in the concept of from a communication perspective and talk a little bit about the employee portal. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the employee portal. If you're able to multitask, that's great. Meaning that if you're able to actually bring up www.scoresports.com, that's wonderful and great all by itself. If you haven't, that's okay. But one thing that everybody was kind of getting confused with when they go to www.scoresports.com, that's where everything's going to be this year. Hands down, that's the best thing that we can do. Instead of me trying to send text to you constantly on a constant manner, we want to make sure that everything's right in front of you all the time. So, or if you need to be able to reach out something that you're not waiting to get information from me. So if you go to www.score-sports.com, you're going to find out and you're going to see the word home and media. And what you see up here on the screen is that you can see the word home, filming, team media, fundraiser, YouTube, and employees. If you go under employees, it drops down and you just want to click on the word current. And when you click on the word current, it's going to come over here and ask for your password. And you're going to type in, the password is 2019. Very simple. Employee portal 2019, because that's the year, and we're going to hit enter. When we hit enter, boom, it comes up. Courtesy of my supervisor, Jennifer Colbert, helping the the wonderful world of employee portals. So what you can look at real quick is, and this is kind of a reset, but I want to make sure that you are doing this on Friday nights, but also on Saturday morning, or turn around on Sunday, to help you make sure that we're all on the same page and that I'm getting the information that I need to. In addition, I will be packing in everybody's bag this Friday night barcodes that allows you to go straight to there. So if you know what a barcode/QR code is, it'll be in everybody's bag on Thursday when you pick it up, or Friday when you pick up your bag, that you can scan it with your phone and it'll take you straight to that piece. For those people that have not turned in their W-9s yet, I'm going to ask that you do. Make sure that you send your W-9s to me, either to bomcmichael@gmail.com or scoresports58@gmail.com. Either one of them works for me. I'm okay getting that information, but I would love a digital. If you sent me a copy already and handed it to me when you return, that's fine. I'll just scan it and put it in there. I just don't want to have things going around with people's social security numbers on it. It just makes me a little nervous in that sense. So make sure that you get your W-9. Even if you've worked with me before, please make sure that you get the W-9 and get that part taken care of. That's helpful for all employees here in the 2019 season. It's a good check base for everybody, just in case address is changed. If your social security changed, I don't really want to know that. That means that thing got a little sketchy for you. Probably the most thing I want you to look at is the word availability. I will always have that up. If I get good, get really well with it, I'm going to go in advanced and get that information taken care of. You want to make sure that you fill out this information to your best capabilities, because it allows me to not email you. If you don't fill out the availability, I will reach out to you and say, hey, are you able to work for me on Friday? Right now, currently, we have 32 football games on Friday. That's 32 football games on Friday. So we're looking for all hands on deck. On a good note, that means everybody's working. Whether we know how to do it or not, we're going to throw you in the mix, put you in the fire, and have a little fun in the process. Now, with that in mind, this is the main focus of the conversation, is that you need to come down here and you see where it says payment form. That's what I want to talk about first, and then I'll go back to the equipment check-in and check-out form. I kind of changed things up to make it a little bit less stressful for you, so you can be able to put it. You need to make sure that you fill out your payment form every time that you work for Score Sports. Please understand that. What that means is, make sure, if you don't group them all together. If you do one event, put it in for one event, the second event, and the third event. So we're going to look at this real quick. When you see email address, fill out the email, the date, the first name and last name, your contract event, payment type. Now, this is a little this got us confused when we were doing the payment type before. Put in your Cash App if that's what you want to be paid. If you have a Venmo, put that Venmo in, meaning the Venmo name, the Cash App name, the Zella name. If you want to be paid in cash or check, put down cash or check in that part. If you don't know payment request, put a question mark. That allows me to reach out to you directly instead of you just saying, hey, I think I know what it is. Leave, if you're not filming a game, leave the home team and away team away from mileage home to the office. If you don't have my address, you did a great job of a lot of people asking for my address, which was wonderful. I live in McDonough, so you can always just Google that and say McDonough, Georgia, but I live at 172 Thicket Trail. That's 172 Thicket Trail, and that allows you to look at the distance between mileage of the event to the office, or from mileage to our home to the office, and then office to the event, and then event to the office back. If you bought anything, grabbed anything to drink, did anything that you needed that was involving the event itself, this is very important that you fill that out as well in that process. To be able to do that for the additional expenses. This helps me keep up with things so I can give you a proper tax report at the end. Have you been paid? If anybody has filled this out and has been paid, I want you to still fill it out. And that goes all the way from August 1st to December 31st. Stuff that happened in July and June, I've already marked that down on the calendar, so we're okay in that direction. If you're waiting, that's fine. If you've been waiting for more than a week, you're more than welcome to re-put that in, because I'll see that you duplicated this because of your email. And then if you have an other, I'd love for you to click other, because I'll ask questions in that process. I put down a reminder, please fill out to get paid. Be patient with payment for the first month. I can only state that otherwise because I am collecting payment from all the coaches and all the teams that we work with. I am not a cash flow monster in the sense that I am waiting to get paid so I can pay you all. Hopefully a lot of that issue will be resolved this Friday, because if not, then we won't film for anybody next Saturday or next Friday. They owe us a paycheck, so I'm going after them for that particular paycheck itself. So make sure that you keep that in mind. Sorry for that. The people are sending me text and asking questions, so I'm going to kill all that so I can look at it later. And I'll pay attention to that. Once again, if you have questions, feel free to put that up on the chat board. That allows us to look at that as well. If you have any questions, I'm going to pause for a second and ask, do you have any questions concerning the payment form? If you do, please send me a text. If you don't, that's great. We're going to carry on and move on to the next thing here in just a minute. So this payment form will always be on the Score Sports employee portal. I can always send it to you via email, via text. I prefer not to, mainly because it's there. So I want to make sure that you're gravitating towards that. Next piece of information that needs to be filled out once you film a gig is equipment check-in and check-out. It only needs to be filled out at the end. It's in bright yellow for you. Equipment check-in and check-out. Once again, email address, date of filming, first name and last name, event filmed, your bag number. Please pay attention to your bag number. When you have issues with your equipment, that allows us to know your bag number. Could I use my PayPal as a payment plan? Jordan, you can. That's not a problem at all to be able to do that. I just looked up and saw that you asked questions, so I wanted to answer that to you very quickly. Jordan, you can put in parentheses, put PayPal. That'll make me address it through PayPal to pay you. If you ever consider Cash App or Venmo, hey, that's great as well. From a bag number, everything is labeled via bag number. You will not get anything that doesn't have related bag numbers, that they all coincide with each other. If you're having an issue with your camera, this is an opportunity to do this. There was a gentleman that was filming this past Friday night that his camera became unfocused. Instead of calling me, he just went ahead and tried to just work through the unfocused piece. If you can call me, you need to call me, because I can tell you how to reset it, and that means take the batteries out of everything on the camera and it resets itself. It's just a commercial brand camera, so that sometimes that has an issue. A lot of you have left me notes about the tripod, which is awesome. We fixed those on Monday. Thank you, Bobby, for coming in and helping me out in that situation. For accessories, that means iPads, that means anything that's additional remotes and so forth in that direction. So if you had anything that you were missing or things that you feel like you need to have in there, that's great. You can place that in there. Instant replay, if you had trouble with your instant replay, that's where you need to put it. If you filmed in zone and you had issues with any of your equipment, that's where you would place that information of no and yes. If you had issues with your location, meaning the people weren't nice, or anything else in that degree, those are things that you want to be able to put down in the no. It's okay to put a no. The no allows me to get an idea of what's going on in your world. So kind of keep that in mind. If you answered yes to any of them, if you put yes this or yes that or yes that, I need you to respond. We are looking at these very detailed, so don't just brush it aside and say, hey, we'll hope we'll fix it. The answer is, I need your help. That's the only way we can resolve this from a week-to-week basis. So it's good to get a yes. This is, I always call it my get-out-of-jail-free card. And this is your opportunity to kind of tell me, hey, what's going on in the world of your equipment itself. One other form that will be added, it's not added yet, it will be your communication tab. Your communication tab is huge in that sense. And what I mean by that is that I'm going to place that here on the bottom right hand side that you see that's opened, is that I want there to be a communication tab that y'all can tell me what's going on. I'd love to have the score because I'm running a live broadcast. I'd love to be able to talk up other teams, but most importantly, I want to know everything's okay with you all. And that's the most important thing that I want to be able to do. So as you can see, we want to make sure that that's the case, to be able to do that part. So if you have any individual questions, feel free to send me a YouTube answer in the comments. But if you don't, then you can always ask me if something confuses you. But the bottom line is, I wanted to talk about these two things, the payment form and the equipment check-in and check-out form as well. Before we go to the next one thing that I really want to go into detail is this Friday, there is a high possibility that a lot of traffic is going to occur. There are a lot of games going on, especially for us. I need you to prepare yourself for those particular games. The more you can prepare yourself, I love that the Facebook came up, by the way, I just noticed that on the delayed reaction. But I need you to be prepared for traffic. Don't underestimate the traffic. Keep ahead of the curve. And what that means is know where you're going. If you haven't had a chance to map out where you're going, have a chance to look at the map of Georgia. Have a chance to pay attention to the routes that you're taking, and to go about and look at that. Tonight I'll send out all invites for everybody. I'm just running a little late because there's 30 games and I'm trying to put y'all in your best position possible and maneuver things around and make sure everything's good, to be able to do that. So that's kind of where I'm at in that particular way. That's why I go back to the word communication. If you can't work, Josh, I appreciate you letting me know as early as you did that you're not available on Friday or on Thursday to film, and that was able for me to be able to get that. There is a game Thursday with Cedar Grove, and we were not able to get you into the mix. And I think it's, I don't want to say Cedar Grove, I always say Cedar Shoals or Cedar Grove. I get those confused, but you know what we're talking about in that direction. So I appreciate definitely you letting me know about that sooner rather than later. A reminder to everybody that's never filmed for me in a stadium that has a press box, you want to be on top of the press box. However, when you're on top of the press box, it gets very hot. Would you prefer us to use communication tab over our phones? Maya, I appreciate you asking that. I'm going to pause because she asked a question, so I wanted to answer it. Maya, the answer is, if you're giving me updates, give it to me on the communication tab. If you are having an issue, you need to call me. That's the best way to do it. I'm going to be doing a broadcast. I can always cut the broadcast, my sound, and come back and talk with you. If you're just giving me an update, I'd much rather you be able to communicate with me via tab because I can see it being used on the Excel, and you'll see that when it comes through. I was hoping I'd have enough time to get that taken care of, and the answer is I'll get it taken care of tonight. It's just not taken care of just yet. I was trying to make adjustments from last week. So the answer is simple. If it's just updates to say everything's good, here's the score, this and that, I prefer it to come across on the communication tab. If you are having an issue, a question, call me on the phone. Don't worry about trying to put it on a communication tab. Going back to the press box, keep in mind that you want to be on top of the press box. Now, with that in mind, a lot of you are going to get a umbrella this week because it is hot. And if you have iPads, if you don't have an umbrella, then you need to be aware of the heat, in the sense that don't set up your iPad until right around game time because the iPads will overheat. Keep that in consideration, especially some of those ones. We have 3 double hitters going on this week, so kind of keep that in mind. So just from an overall perspective, keep that and go, okay, hey, where we're going from step 1 to step 2. So just kind of don't try to overthink the heat. It will overheat. The sun's right there. You're on a metal press box, and it will overheat. So with all that in mind, y'all have done a great job of listening, and I appreciate it wholeheartedly. We will go ahead and I keep looking to see if anybody's asking any questions. I love when people would text, and I'm trying to answer as well. So the next thing we're going to talk about in detail is that we're going to go over the game itself and kind of talk about what things occurred and how everything looked at, especially this past Friday night. We only had we had 27 people training, which was great. A lot of you gave me some great feedback. Yes, I'm ready to go. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to be a part of the team, which is great. And a lot of you I'm going to throw into the fire this week. I had a chance to look at your footage. I'm going to talk about some key reminders of yourselves, and we're going to really just look at 2 games in this process. And if we look at these 2 games, we'll get an idea of, hey, we need to make sure that we do this. The biggest concern that I have about anybody that's filming is that you want to make sure that you don't get jumped. What that means is, and I'll have an opportunity, I'm going to bring up the film right now. And when I bring up the film here, we're going to bring up the Kell and Walton game. It was 10 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. Thank you very much, Philip, and thank you very much, Richard, for joining us on those particular games. And it was a hot game, and you can see that everybody's film should start up like this. Okay, if this is the first time you hit the record button, that's stressful. Okay, but if it's not, I prefer to have things that look a little bit like this. As you can see, they tested their cameras way ahead of time to make sure everything worked, and then the record button worked. That means the SD card's in there, and we're ready to rock and roll. That's the wide, that's the tight, and that's the wide, and away we go with the breakdown. Okay, so something that to really look at is to be aware of the heat. This is a great setup. The nice thing about it is that everybody can see is that it's even, that it's level. There were several people that were not level, and these are employees that work for me, and I'm not talking about training employees, I'm talking about everybody else. So make sure that you look at it, that it is a level across the bleachers, straight ahead down the 50-yard line to be able to do this. When we hit the play button here, if Richard is on point, he will be following the players, not the ball. Now the bad part is some of these special teams rules that they did not run down the line, so he could not follow anybody. So he kind of deer in the headlights, and he went, okay, I got to go down here to deal with it. As you can see, the wide is a little bit wider with special teams. It shows the 3rd line. This is 2 lines. This is 1 line. Keep that in mind. Now with special teams here, they showed all 22 players. Okay, that's very important to kind of keep in the back of your mind of knowing that it's all 22 players with special teams only. Okay, keep that in mind, with special teams only. So the first play of scrimmage, this is the tight formation. Richard's on point. The ball's in the center. 10 yards back, 10 yards back, and we're ready to go. Everything looks normal and comfortable. He's ready for the game. You can see that he kind of tied in right there and was ready to go. He didn't have to move much because the ball's right there. Now this is the wide angle, which is fine. He probably could adjust a little bit with his angle from his wide and move it back a little bit so it's not so much green, but that's fine. I'm okay with that from an overall perspective. Now I'm using, let's see if it's picked. Yep. Next play is tight and well, and then this is the end zone play. Now this is a huge faux pas. Philip adjusted it. Philip's never filmed end zone for me, and I put him out in the heat to do that. This is too far away. We don't ever want to show 22 players when we're filming the end zones, offense and defense. We want to make sure that we are just showing the end man line of scrimmage to the end man. And after about play 18, Philip adjusted, and we'll go to that and show that here in just a minute. Right here, it's a big play. I'm going to go back to it here so we can see how the quarterback adjusted. Right here is a great example, and They're going to throw it. You see how he winds out? And this is with the tight camera, okay? This is with the tight. The moment the quarterback flares back to look like he's going to throw the ball, you want to widen out with your camera so you can find out where he's at. And then zoom in, and you can see here that he'll zoom in a little bit closer as the time goes on. And then he picks it up and gets ready for the next play. With it, now that it's in the center of the field, being the 50-yard line, it's nice to look at. It's a good setup. This is a great way to look at the tight. You can always come back to this video if you're looking for reference points to be able to do that. Richard's been filming for me for about 5 or 6 years, so I'm very happy to have him a part of our team, and he does a great job looking at it from an overall perspective. Once again, Philip's still not at the point, we're not at play 18 where we're like, hey, tighten up. And we'll see that here in just a minute. I'm going to exit out so we can look at the footage, and I'll go down to play 18 so we can really look at it. This is a good tight formation and a good wide formation coming next. Once again, when a quarterback steps back to pass, you've got to give him the respect by widening out to have an idea. Here's the wide angle. It's good. You got a little bit of space back here. You got some space back here, so you're seeing all 22 players, and that's important to look at. And now we see this is the tight. Now, Kel is a horrible environment. Will adjust because of this nice netting, but once again, it's closer in-man line of scrimmage to the in-man line of scrimmage. Philip did a great job adjusting. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at it. You want to make sure that you're always in this picture. You don't want to be too tight where you're showing just the side of the players. You want to give a little bit of green space here and here. Keep that in mind. So those are good things to look at. One thing I want to go over real quick is that I want to talk a little bit about special teams. Special teams right here. You can see a field goal being kicked. And as you can see with the tight, we're going to let them sit down. These are not live kicks, so it's okay. Now, Richard did a great job of not moving the camera. So when we look at the wide, we see everything. Now, hopefully he's going to adjust the camera here in a minute so we can see it go through the goalpost. If not, he's horrible, and I want to tickle him to the point that it's not going to be shown. Nope. So we don't get to see this, so I can't I can't like praise him just yet and say, hey, he did a good job, because he did not show the goalpost. With the wide camera, you want to widen out to see the goalpost over here. So we got to make sure that we do that. Here with the end zone, you want to make sure you widen out enough to see the goalpost and the ball go over the goalpost. This is a great shot as long as we're taking that time to show that shot. So please make sure that you take time to do that from an overall perspective. So just kind of keep that in mind. I wanted to talk about those three particular things. We will have a chance to, if individuals want to talk and want to get feedback from their filming experience, that's no problem. I've had a chance to review everybody's from Lakewood, from Lovett, from 12 Oaks, and also from Bowden. Everybody, nobody kind of, the biggest thing that concerned me was the getting jumped part. I'll show you an example of what that looks like. Let's go down and pick at somebody real quick, and I'll scroll down the game and see if I can find it. Yeah, we'll mess with Dorian Sparkman because he'd be fun to mess with right now. He had an opportunity to film St. Pius. I don't think I've flicked St. Pius over just yet. I have not, so that's okay. So we can't really realistically yell at him just yet. But in the future, I will have an opportunity. We have our own Huddle website now that allows us to actually look at our own particular games, and I'll be able to send that up and be able to look at it as well. So those are good things to kind of have an opportunity to look at and to be able to say, hey, what we're doing wrong or right in this situation. One other thing that I wanted to go over with you is your calendar invite, because that's important for me to look at. Everybody's calendar invite is hooked to a Google Calendar. What that means is we have this Google Calendar that comes in, and you can see the different days. We're going to have an opportunity here to look at Thursday, and gives you a chance to look at what it comes across and looks at. We have a game here at Cedar Shoals. You will get an email that comes across that says football, has the information. Most of the time it's the team we film for first is located right there versus West Hall, and then it gives additional information. That information tells you that it's a tight and a wide, it's an end zone or an instant replay. They have an end zone, and then most of the time I put down what the kickoff time is. It's deviating between 7 and 7:30, so I wasn't willing to put it, and I'll go and update it. But everybody gets a little invite sent to them. I want you to accept the invite. If you can't and it does not allow you to, I need you to tell me, because if not, I'll send an email and go, hey, are you good? And usually I send that and give that information via email through scoresportshuddle@gmail.com. Those are emails that we use to be able to look at those, and then I save it. We have several games on Thursday that I'll be bringing people out to train, to finish up and kind of get some finishing touching on training. And then Thursday, or on Friday, we have 32 games. On Saturday we have 3 games, and we also have some rec ball going on Friday from an overall perspective. So I want us to make sure that if you're available, that's great. I want to bring you in and get you filming. If you need some additional training, we're working on that concept, and we appreciate you being able to do that. So for a second I lost my YouTube. It decided to go dark, but even though everybody's still on me, so I know that it didn't do that, but my internet itself decided to shut down. So if somebody's asking me questions right now, I don't really necessarily have a chance to respond. So give me 1 second, and I want to bring that back up if somebody had any particular questions. If you do and I have not responded to you, feel free to text me so I can get that information to you. But I'm going to bring this up here in just a minute. Before we kind of wrap up and get going. Once again, 3 things tonight. Communication. We're going to start that in full detail on Thursday and Friday. The second piece is payment. If you need to be paid, you can reach out to me. I'll do my best to answer that question. Some people asked, hey, can I get paid? If I have money, usually I can send it to you. I was able to pick up a check yesterday, so hey, I was able to shuffle money your way. We'll be picking up some more checks on Thursday and Friday, which is a plus. It makes me less stressed, which is a good thing in my world of being less stressed, of making sure I can pay you all so I can have y'all come out. Everything will be resolved by next Wednesday. If you're waiting for money, I ask that you be a little bit patient. If you can't be patient, then you need to tell me. I can't be patient. And then I've got to figure out, one, can I get you paid or not in that particular area? So it's one of those, I got to make sure I can do that. A filming perspective is huge right now, is make sure that you do that. Did anyone else have problems with iPads? Spencer, I just brought it up so I could look at it. Spencer, from an iPad perspective, they're catchy. You were filming in a training perspective, meaning that somebody else was hooked into the same iPad and they clicked over. So one thing that when we're training, we have to turn off iPads to be able to do that. From a touching perspective, if you need a stylus pen, I have plenty of stylus pens, but what happens is that I lose the stylus pens very quickly. So I try not to do that. From a remote control perspective, that Huddle does not. So if you joined us back, we did have a power outage all of a sudden and got a nice little spike. I don't know if anybody else clicked on. I see some people still on, which is fine, and that's wonderful. Just part of technology. So big old lightning bolt came in, and that was that. And couldn't do anything about it. So that's okay. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or email me, either way, so I can be able to help out and do that. I appreciate Jennifer posting that information to be able to do with that. And there are still some people on. We got 8 folks. But the biggest thing, like I said, those 3 things that we wanted to talk about tonight was communication and filming, but also payment. That's the whole point of a lot of times people do jobs. They don't do jobs for being not getting paid for them. So have patience in that degree, and that would be wonderful if you could. And that orange shirts will be here next week. I've already ordered them all. So if I'm bringing people out, if you have an orange shirt, great. But you all have a name badge, which is great by itself to be able to do. It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a very intense year. Everything's starting up very fast, and we're getting things started very quickly. We have games next Tuesday, next Wednesday, next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So when I send availability out, get an idea. I appreciate Herman, Nate, Bobby, and Tiffany, and my leaders coming in on Monday and helping out. We will have some office hours on Friday as well. I mean on Thursday as well to get things started. So look forward to working with everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I need you on Friday. If you know anybody, hey, bring them on. If you have any recommendations, I'm all about that, mainly because we're trying to get people to make sure we have enough. If certain things, I have teams keep calling me constantly. Currently, we're at 62 football teams. That's too many football teams. Not enough equipment, not enough people. And I'm probably going to have to turn about 10 away because they called, and I'm like, well, we can let you know, and I'm just trying to make sure we have enough. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy tonight. Thank you very much for joining in on the conversation. And if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Invites will go out. The latest will be tomorrow morning, but the earliest will be tonight. I'll start sending invites out for this Thursday, Friday. And also, if you would like to work on Saturday, let me know. The only thing you need to do is go in there and pop in availability and just change your availability. If that's the case, that's the easiest thing to do. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Good night.